Alright, so thank you to everyone and anyone watching. This is BS Coast to Coast, episode 19 now.
19.
Just remember, wherever it is you are watching, we are somewhere else, including YouTube, Apple Music Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and somehow iHeartRadio. What have you, we're there. And you can see me and Benny's big, beautiful, smiling faces wherever it is you go. Especially YouTube, because that's where we actually have video. Alright. So, I hate going and talking about them every single episode. But they're just such an easy company for us to go and, give them wedgies and swirlies in the locker room. And Nintendo has finally gone and had their big old, whatever the Nintendo version of State of Play is called, and given us the whole kit and caboodle on the Switch too. What were your opinions, Benny?
Here's the thing. I'm excited for another Switch. I'm excited for the advancement of Nintendo and their products, but there's just certain things I just don't understand about the Switch 2. And there's certain things there's some expectations they didn't quite meet. All right, I have a ROG Ally myself, and I love it. It does all these things for me, and the Switch 2 just seems like a kind of a downgrade from some of these handhelds.
Well,
At,
so the thing
at
that
2/3
was
the price.
right, so well, I was seeing $450 was the price, right? That they said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even saw one source saying that they might actually raise the price on release in the U.S., saying that they're hopeful that consumers will ultimately eat the cost.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, like, even 450 450 by itself is steep and almost on par with most modern consoles. I mean, the PS5, not counting the Pro, was 500 upon release 5 years ago, and then I think it was the same price for the Xbox Series X.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's like kind of like this trend with the Switch overall, where it's like they release after the most recent generation of console, like the PlayStation 5, and at the time the Switch 1 was the PS4, but still seem to have worse hardware than those, which at first it seemed kind of understandable because it's like, okay, well, it's a handheld, but I mean, it's performing worse. It performs worse than the Steam Deck or the Asus Ally or whatever else it is you have.
So yeah, that's a big argument I see in my community because I follow like gaming handhelds, right? Um, you can have a machine that plays everything but Nintendo exclusives, right? So and it's a computer, right? Like if I had to take my Ally somewhere and like I don't know, I have to randomly check my email, which I have my phone, right? We all have our phones and stuff, but like I can do that. Or there's a game and I want to download a mod and I want to mod it. I can do that on my Ally.
Well, yeah, because
Uh,
the Ally runs
it runs
Windows,
Windows.
right?
It's a
And then
genuine Windows 11 PC.
the Switch runs Linux. But I mean, if you have enough know-how, you
Yeah,
could technically make it run Windows. But I mean, fucking Linux is good enough, anyways.
I've seen arguments either way. Not to get too into the weeds, but I've seen I've seen some people who put the prototype SteamOS on their allies and they kind of miss Windows because one, you can't run anti-cheat on the Steam OS, and two, Windows is easier to
Oh,
manipulate.
so you just can't launch games?
You can't launch certain games. Yeah, like you can't play like Fortnite on Steam OS. Um, and Windows is easier to manipulate,
Well,
right? For modding and for anything they want to do.
Rockstar games you can't play on
Yeah.
the Steam Deck because with the Steam Deck um it runs whatever. I don't remember what the anti cheat they started using was off the top of my head, but it will automatically block Linux basically, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the OS that the Steam Deck uses.
Mm-hmm. Anything that uses kernel level anti cheat won't run on Linux because of the nature of how Linux is.
Which is
Um,
something that Rockstar could change. Like it's not a uh I think Mudahar made a video on it. Like it's something that they could easily fix. They just
don't.
don't
There's not enough. But
for whatever reason.
the thing is, there's not enough interest or like business in that industry
Yeah.
to do it right. Like if it was like if this was a thing and suddenly they needed to do it for everyone to play, it'd be a bigger deal. But right now, it's a select few people who
Yeah,
want to
I
play.
don't think a lot of like I mean the big market with the Steam Deck is like, you know, people who travel for business or whatever. I mean, I don't think those people are playing a whole lot of GTA online with their friends in whatever hotel room they're staying in.
Yeah, and the Steam library itself is vast. If I can't play one game, I'm like, all right, well, I'll play one of the other 1,000 games that I could play.
Well, that's the other thing with the Switch though is it's like you can get like the Switch was kind of in its own sort of way a little bit revolutionary. Like
Well, it was. It really was.
Nintendo has always been the forefront of handhelds,
Yeah.
but the Steam Deck was the first one that could, in really any capacity, keep up with whatever console was. I mean, for a reference point, Resident Evil 1 was on the Nintendo DS because it was the only one that they really fully had the ability to port
Yeah.
at the time of the release. And then I mean, other ones eventually came, like for the 3DS there was Revelations and Revelations 2. So like those were much more demanding titles that did eventually come, but I mean the Switch was really the first one that could really run uh actual, you know, fully fleshed AAA games like Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. But it's it's at this point where Nintendo is now at in a competitive market because they've got things like uh, the Asus Ally and the Steam Deck that they've got to compete with, but Nintendo doesn't have anything to really offer in that uh, in that space except for Nintendo exclusives.
Yeah. They it
And it's also
baffles
going to
me.
run the OS of a console instead of
Yeah.
Windows or Linux or whatever.
And it's so a big thing I've read about Nintendo is they want to market their devices to younger audiences, right? And a big thing about younger audiences, I'm talking like 12 to 18-year olds broadly. Um, it's nice that they don't have a browser, they can't get on there, they can't do a bunch of stuff, right? It's nice that they can't manipulate a lot of things. It's nice that they have a console they can just play games on, but that can't be your whole market strategy because there's so much more out there. You're competing with. So if that's your target audience, you know, a 14-year-old kid smart enough to see through that and be like, well, I want this gaming handheld. I don't want to switch to. I want this.
I want to
And
watch
suddenly
porn.
they have a computer at their fingertips, right? Yeah. So and they can play more games. That's the ultimate thing.
Right.
It's Nintendo's not
Well, that goes into the bigger
competing.
argument too of like how much money does a fucking, 14-year-old have?
Yeah,
Not a lot, right? They're hoping that, their parents let them use their credit card for whatever they want to buy. And then it comes into the new issue of, have you seen the fucking price of the Switch games?
yeah. It's
So
longevity. It's
the
by the time you buy two games, you're looking at the same prices in Alex. Yeah,
yeah,
probably a used Alex,
literally,
but
if you have bought 4 games, you have surpassed the price of the console itself.
yeah,
So
that's
the Switch
insane.
is currently giving you fucking games for the price point is about $80,
It's
uh
crazy.
which is $10 more than the $70 price that has been kind of the quote unquote trend lately.
Yeah.
Which, it's crazy how fast it's going up, because $60 was like the typical asking price for a game for, it's gotta be 15 years, right? And it's like around the time of the release of the PS5 and Series X about 10 years ago, they started asking, or 10 years ago, Jesus, 5 years ago, they started asking about $10 more, which was the $70 price point. And now, like, in a third of the time, Nintendo is now asking for $10 more. And if you want a physical copy, they're charging you an extra $10 on top of that to make all the games $90. And
Mm-hmm.
when you buy the physical copy, you're not even buying a physical copy of the game. You're literally buying a download key that you have to have plugged into the Switch every time you want to play the game. It's like, it's like they're so
Game prices too.
out of touch with reality almost.
So I saw somebody talking about this. Um, and this is what really gets me for a lot of these, especially digital download games. So games back in the day, back in the '90s, right? Back when I was a kid, because I'm old. Um, games back then were $50, $60, right? But games back then were physical. You had marketing, you had distribution, you had all these things, all these costs to recoup, right?
And you
And
got the whole game.
you
Like, they
got the whole
weren't like
game. There was no
expansions or
DLC.
DLCs or
Yeah.
anything like that.
When we bought Donkey Kong Country 3, we bought Donkey Kong Country 3, and that was it. That was the whole ball game. And actually, Grandma got it for Christmas, but I digress. But now you get like what did I buy recently, right? Like what's the big game I bought? I don't know. I don't know what I bought recently. I bought Frostpunk 2, right? On release. Because I love the game. I think it was $40, $50, something like that, right? Like it wasn't quite too it wasn't crazy expensive, but it was like an expensive game. Um, they had to pay for marketing, but at the same time they didn't have they was only digital distribution. It was just a studio. Like they didn't have to like go out and do a lot of stuff for it. Um, and they could charge less because of that, and they still made a good profit, right? But like Nintendo is charging these prices, like it's I'm gonna pay like if I buy a game off the store for $80, I just bought a digital copy of your game that you made. I don't even know the profit you made on it. Like it's got to be crazy.
Well, it's kind of how we talked about like a year ago with like games that are just so much, that are like blowing up, that are more popular than like AAA games, like
All the indie
Helldivers.
games. Oh yeah, Helldivers. Oh yeah.
Helldivers, it was a big game. Like, it wasn't, just some fucking dude beating off in his basement making it. But it was what, $40
Yeah.
for the that it was I think it was 40 for the base game, and then I think it was only 50 if you got the like first like season pass and everything
Yeah.
included with it.
Every season
So
pass is $10, essentially,
yeah,
in the
so
game.
it was a much lower price point than every fucking game out there, and people loved it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like,
But uh,
there's a lot of
w-
smaller games that are like that. Like, my best one is, it's not a small game. It's not an indie game studio, but Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate, like, consistently shits on all these other studios about this same thing. It's funny.
oh, let's even look at fucking Pal World,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
Power blew up. I mean, it's still
that was an
going.
extremely small studio, and I mean, people still fucking beat their meat over Pal World.
Oh yeah. And you know what's funny about Power World is everything that Nintendo wouldn't give us with Pokemon.
Right.
It was an adult Pokemon. I mean, it was, we had played these games in our kid as a kid, right? And now you got this game where it's, there's a little bit of survival element. There's modern themes in it with guns. It's base building and there's fighting. Like, things die. Like, it's a more mature game.
Right.
And I think a lot of people like to get that. I mean, I like to get to that.
So,
And then
with
Nintendo
that
sued
said,
them.
though, do you think that what Nintendo is doing, do you think that's going to be the industry standard?
No, I think Nintendo's going to be a major outlier in this. I think people are still going to buy this console and buy these games because of Nintendo and because they want to buy them. But I don't
Well,
think
I mean, it's the same as fucking Xbox, where they have like a bunch of meat riders who are going to buy it anyways.
no one's gonna, like. I mean, look at, no one's gonna, like, the minute somebody else charges this much money. Like, so I think part of the reason why Nintendo is gonna get away with it is like the really hardcore gamers, the crazy people who like get really into the weeds of this, don't play Nintendo. Don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah,
my
but
DS collects dust. They see it and they're like, "That's stupid." Then they move back onto Steam and, like Xbox Game Pass and like all that
that's
stuff.
where I wonder if where it's going to go. Is it's like those people obviously aren't on PC. Those people are playing Nintendo. So then PlayStation knows they have their crowd that hasn't moved to PC. So it's like, I guess it remains to be seen as if as like, does Nintendo actually make money on it
Oh, they
or not?
will. They
But
absolutely will.
I guess like it's either PlayStation is going to try and be competitive with that because Xbox isn't fucking in the console industry anymore. So it's either PlayStation is going to try and compete with that and keep their prices the same, or PlayStation is going to see, oh shit, this is what people who don't play PC are willing to pay for their games. How, let's
the
do the same thing.
The problem is your PlayStation audience is a much bigger audience, and it's a much more influential audience. The minute of a PlayStation game drops for like $90, people are gonna shit themselves. I think.
But wouldn't the idea that's a bigger audience be more on the side of it's possibly a more loyal audience?
I
I
I
mean,
think
there
I think
there
there's
is
I think
even the
there's
aspect of like I mean, I think it's a small percentage of people, but I mean, there are people who I know who have, a gaming PC and play on PC and all that, but still prefer their console.
I think that you're gonna ruffle enough feathers that it's gonna be too big a deal. Is just what I'm saying. Like, there's so many people who play PlayStation that there's not a lot of people who, like, everyone. Think about everyone you know who owns a Switch, right? How many people mainly play Switch? How many people have played their Switch in the last like year that you know?
Uh, pass.
Right. How many people have gotten on the computer or played their PlayStation in the last? You know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's not a mainstream like Nintendo. Nintendo devices haven't been like super mainstream since like the 64. They've always been a gimmick. They've always been a mobile console. Always been a thing you
Yeah.
buy. Like, and that's why I think like this is a big
Well, they've
deal, but
always.
no one's really like going crazy about it because it's like my Switch already collects dust. I'll just not buy a Switch 2. I'll be fine.
Right.
So, but if you do it with like the next generation of PlayStation, right? Like suddenly PlayStation drops Grand Theft Auto for $90. There's gonna be people who buy it, but like there's gonna be a lot of people who are raise their eyebrow at it, and I think that audience is gonna be bigger, and that's why I think
Yeah.
it may be a thing that happens, but I think there'll be a lot more feedback because I don't think
Yeah.
there's a lot
All
of
right.
feedback on Nintendo because if you don't like it, you just okay, I just won't play Zelda. I won't play Mario. I won't play these characters who are I associate with a kid's game, right? Because like you still associate all these games as a kid's game on a kid's console because that's what
All
Nintendo's
right.
marketed it as. They're fun, but uh, like I'm not playing
And
Legend of Zelda. I'm playing Dark Souls now, right? Like playing Elden Ring, you
yeah,
know?
and they don't have a lot of longevity in their own right. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
I mean, in a certain extent, it's almost like Call of Duty, where people always say like, "Well, it's just the same game with different guns and slightly different maps." Like, it's the same thing. Like, what have they really,
we
really done to Mario Kart?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the new one's supposed to be nice. I'm assuming it's gonna be a good game. It doesn't, sure, it's gonna be a great game, but it's Mario Kart. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
play. I don't know, something with somewhere I can put a gun on my car, right? Like Cyberpunk. Right? I mean, it's if they want to market to a younger generation, that's fine. But the younger generations also wants to play Cyberpunk. They don't want to play safe old Mario Galaxy anymore. They want to play the most violent things known to man.
Well, yeah, it's been like
And
that for years now.
I feel like Nintendo is just like they're also Nintendo's also in a different country with a lot different mentality than we are, like, right? Like we're talking about this from the viewpoint of Americans, and
Yeah, but I mean, Sony is the same way. And I
yeah,
mean, I
that's
think
true.
Nintendo knows that like their biggest audience is the U.S.
Yeah, are they? I think they are.
I mean, it's gotta be close at least. I mean, top three is at least U.S. Like, if it's not number one, it's definitely within that. So
So the Switch is the top selling console in Japan, apparently.
but what is Nintendo's actual biggest market?
So they sold. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? So in Japan, they sold 36 million, almost 37 million units.
Well, I mean, according to Google Gemini, which also told me to cook spaghetti and gasoline, the Americas, specifically the United States, is Nintendo's biggest market.
I think they are, but I'm wondering like by how much is what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it says followed by Japan, or no,
Yeah,
Europe, then followed by Japan. Which I
Europe
guess
is.
Europe is insignificant enough to classify as one whole ass market.
So they sold about 15 million more units for the no. They sold about 10 million more switches in the US, which is a lot.
As opposed to Japan.
Yeah. They sold 30. They sold about 37 million in Japan, and then 40.
Right. But what
Which is
isn't calculated in that? How many PCs were sold? Because PCs
that's
aren't just
true.
for gaming, so they never put in how many people actually own a PC and use it for gaming because they're still just a computer and have 1,000 other uses than just gaming.
That's true.
So that's not calculated. Here, give
Uh,
me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back.
all right, welcome back. Yeah, I also, you know, I'm curious to see. I'm really curious to see how the Switch 2 performs because the Switch 1 came out in 2017 and hardware like that's a full 5 years before the Steam Deck. So I'm curious to see
Well,
like
the thing is, the Steam or the Switch's hardware was already kind of outdated at the time that it came out.
oh it's
So
already
Nintendo's been like basically two full generations behind. And I haven't gone through the weeds. I mean, you know better than I would cuz you probably gone through all this, but like I mean, yeah, the Steam Deck's or the Switch 2 is good, but
in a vacuum. It's a nice console. It does what it's supposed to do. I'm sure it plays games well, like right, like it's great. But we don't live in that vacuum. Nintendo, it's my thing is I feel like Nintendo is tone deaf to the rest of the world.
yeah. The only reason I think the bottom line is the only reason I can see to buy a Switch 2 is to play Nintendo exclusives.
Yeah,
And when you see that they're going to be 80 or $90, I think a lot of people, even some Nintendo fans, are going to look at that and be like, yeah, I'll just pass. Cuz like we said, it's Mario Kart again, like
the one thing I can think of though, and I see I'm looking at a couple things for the Switch. So my Ally is a very nice piece of hardware. However, like any Windows machine, it has quirks, right? Like, how often have you gotten something new or had an issue where like something wouldn't install right or something just randomly uh, didn't work right, right? Like, and then you restart and it works right. The Switch won't have those problems, and that is one thing I will give it. When I turn on my Switch, when I turn on my DS, it always works. Um, that
well
is one.
that's just kind of the luxury of consoles is
Yeah,
it's automatically attuned to give you the best graphics and performance it can. Like it's I except for like random crashes which are caused by whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I've never had a I've never had a persisting problem where I try to launch a game on a console and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So like that aspect, and I think the option to buy physical copies, which, like we've already stated, is not even really a thing with the Switch 2 because their physical copies are literally just a download key.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, it's a play key. So I've heard that you can take your key, your game cartridge, and play it on someone else's.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
I've heard you can sell the cartridges. That's what I've heard. I really need to look into this
Oh.
more. I have a hard time finding information about the Switch too, and I think part of that's Nintendo. But like,
yeah, it's like very scarce information
yeah,
on it.
but that's what I heard.
Okay. All right. Well, that's nice. But okay. So
but
we'll
still
just throw that into the whole thing though. Like, you know, physical copies and
it's still not a physical copy technically. Like if
right,
Switch's network ever goes down, like they did with the DS, right?
But for the sake of it, we'll just say like yeah. So like a physical copy and just the fact that whatever you throw into it that is a Nintendo product will work. Those are really the only things consoles have going for them at this point.
There's ease of use.
Yeah. And I mean, something with physical copies is, I mean, especially when you look at like fucking Ubisoft and them saying like gamers need to be fine with not owning their games.
Yeah.
Physical copies are in a place where they're kind of becoming more desirable again because if you buy a physical copy, you're going to have it. Like you will own that. Like unless it's something like a live service game like what was that car game that Ubisoft shut down like a year ago?
The Crew?
That you just can't play it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless it's something like that, you can still play the game whenever. Like I remember when I bought Cyberpunk, I bought it for the PS5 because everywhere I looked, the PlayStation Store, Steam, wherever it was, even though Cyberpunk was like 3 or 4 years old at that point, it was still going for like $60, $70. And then I looked on Amazon and just found a physical copy of it for like $10. I was like, all right, so I got it. It was the PS4 version, but that came with a free upgrade for the PS5 version. I put it in my PS5 and it works. It's just Cyberpunk. And if it ever gets to the point where they stop supporting Cyberpunk, like I have the disc, I can still just put it in and play it whenever I want. And I mean, honestly, when was the last time you saw a physical copy of a PC game? What was the last PC that you actually bought with a disc drive?
The last physical PC game I ever bought. Are you ready? It was WoW Cataclysm.
Exactly. So it's like
it was on a DVD.
Yeah.
WoW Cataclysm was the last physical game I ever bought. Everything else was digital.
So like just with that's like the only reason I could ever look at a console though and think like, yeah, that's something I'd want to buy it for.
I mean,
I have enough know-how that any game that I have that doesn't run, like I can, probably make it work in whatever way I need to. I can't think of a game in the past like 2 or 3 years that I haven't been able to figure out how to get it to run.
Yeah. Also, my counterpoint. So you are right. It is nice to have physical copies. Like my DS, I have a bunch of physical copies. My Switch, I have a bunch of physical copies of games. Part of that is because the storefronts also close. But I'm gonna bring up the almighty Steam storefront. Steam opened in '08, and it hasn't ever closed, and it won't ever close.
Yeah, but games have still left Steam.
So I've never had a game that I bought that had an issue like that. So like
Okay, but
I've seen games where the live service shut down. Like what are the games? Spellbreak, the one where you pick up the spells and you do the stuff right. Like that one, shut down and stuff. But like I mean I've got like I guess what I'm saying is it's less of a to me it's less of a big deal because Valve and Steam are so stable.
but something that you've got to consider too is at this point a lot of even Steam games run through a separate launcher. Like the big three that I immediately think of are Rockstar,
Mm-hmm.
EA, and Ubisoft. And Ubisoft's game launcher is so fucking
Dude, it's
bad
so bad.
that
Uplay is
I
so
will
bad.
I actually will do everything I can to avoid playing a Ubisoft game on PC just because I know it's gonna be a fucking bitch to launch.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's like I've had issues with EA and Rockstar, and like sometimes it's just like bad connection or whatever. It's like if my internet connection is slow or whatever, like I'm not gonna be able to play Red Dead, which is another thing. Consoles you can always play offline.
That's true.
At
Uh,
least as of things stand right now, it's like every time a new console comes out for like the past 10 years, they've been like, oh yeah, this one you're not going to be able to play offline. And then people throw a big fit and they're like, okay, we'll let you play offline. But
yeah,
as it stands, any console I want to play offline, I can.
that's
But
true.
then,
There's certain games you can on Steam, but I found that there are like, yeah, you're right.
but like any AAA game you buy at this point, it's going to go through a launcher.
Yeah.
So,
Um.
I mean, there's been times where I just can't play a game because my connection isn't good enough. And then
Yeah.
with fucking Ubisoft, who even knows why you can't fucking play their games?
I
Their launcher is
know.
just that
Ubisoft is so
actual dog
bad.
shit.
It's so bad.
It took me a full day to figure out how to just fucking launch X Defiant, and then it died in a week anyways.
That's another thing I was going to bring up. You talked about the crew. I remember there was a lot of controversy over that game when they shut down like the servers for it, like the services for it. But like, I'm a veteran of online MMOs ever since back in the day, the early 2000s, right? I've seen things come and go. So like to
RuneScape.
me, oh, escape. Um, to me, like when you buy a game that's most online, like I'm gonna use what's a good example? Asheron's Call was actually a really good example. When you buy a game that's got a huge online component, you have to go into it knowing it's not permanent. If you don't, you don't understand how online games work, and I have no sympathy for you. But like, you have to go into it knowing that everything you put into it is finite and will eventually mean nothing because that's the
True.
nature of online games. And when I see all these people that are like upset, they're like, "Oh well, we can't play this like this." It's like I'm like, yeah, it's upsetting, right? Like it sucks that you bought that game and you paid for it, right? But I'm like, I paid
I
for
think the
I
thing
paid for like a decade of Eve Online subscriptions, and I don't play the game anymore. How many thousands of dollars was that, right?
I think
Like,
the thing with the crew though was more of like the principle that like Was it Ubisoft or EA? I can't even remember now.
Uh,
At this point, it
Ubisoft.
doesn't even fucking matter. It's up both their alleys. So Ubisoft made the game just completely unplayable, no matter what you fucking do. Like you can't even make private servers. So I think the big deal with the crew, I like, who the fuck do you know plays the crew?
I've never met anyone who actually owned it.
Exactly. So it's not so much the crew that was the problem; it was the principle that they take this game like. So let's say like I was a huge fucking fan of the crew. I'm their biggest fanboy. Every night before I go to bed, I worship the poster of the crew and do fucking cum shots on it or whatever. You, I I could still play that game. I could have made a private server if I wanted to. If Ubisoft just allowed that to fucking happen, they just
Okay.
fucking completely banished the game to the shadow realm. Though I mean, think of how many games you
Yeah.
play to this day. Look at us with fucking goddamn World at War and trying to get to run on fucking plutonium.
Oh my
Like,
god. Yeah, I'm looking into that now, and you're right. Like they
I
didn't
mean,
just shut
you can
down.
keep a game alive if you really want to, unless the company takes that away from you.
Yeah, they didn't
I
just
mean,
shut down the
I
servers.
do
They revoked licenses as well. Yeah, you're
right.
right. Well, it's like how
Yeah, so
Titanfall 2, they
it's
shut down the servers, but you can still log into it and play the game.
right. So I think that was the problem with the
Yeah,
crew, not so much the problem with the crew is what was happening to a game, not the game it was happening to.
that's right. You're correct. Yeah, yeah, because it had to deal with, it didn't have to deal with like playing. It had to deal with like video game preservation ownership.
Yeah. And that's like the big thing is it's like anytime they fucking take away this shit from you. I mean, a live service game is different, but
Yeah, now that I'm looking into it, you're right. You're right, because it's a different. It's different when like an MMO shuts down than like a game that you bought that you can still play.
I mean, like an MMO, like the whole, I mean, it's literally in the name, massive multiplayer online game. Like when that goes down, like what the fuck are you gonna do if it's you and three of your friends playing it? If
Yeah.
you're the ones left, right? As opposed to something like the crew where we could just fucking I'll just fucking use World of War for example. You know, four fucking dudes playing zombies. Like we can still do that because of plutonium. But think if uh Treyarch or Activision just straight up revoked our license to actually even play the game.
Yeah.
And that's like there's a whole ass campaign too that's like now I just can't play. So I mean I definitely do understand the argument of fidelity of online games, but it's just the way that the companies actually treat it where it just you're beating it into the ground when there's no reason to other than the
Right.
fact that you can't make money anymore, so fuck you. Um anyways, on the same note, just one that I want to touch on quickly. Did you see the Schedule 1 lawsuit?
Yeah. Well, what was the other game? Drug Simulator, something like that. Drug Dealer Simulator.
Drug Dealer Simulator is suing the um developer
Yeah.
of Schedule 1. Schedule 1 was made by one dude.
Oh, was it? I didn't
And like
realize.
yeah, so it's like Lethal Company. It was made
Oh
by just
yeah.
a dude. He just fucking made a game and yeah. And they're suing him over like the most broad fucking concepts ever. I wanted to touch on it in the same note as we're talking about Nintendo because it's like the same fucking thing where Nintendo was suing Pal World for the most
Copyright
um
infringement.
like yeah, for
Yeah.
the most like basic shit ever. They're like a game where you capture animals and they're your fucking slaves now or whatever. And it's just so
Uh,
like it's such a weird concept because it's like it is as broad as you can possibly get because they're like you made a game where you can make drugs and sell them to people like imagine your fucking local drug dealer who like sits outside the Dollar General parking lot and like sells weed like started suing other drug dealers for fucking copyright infringement saying that they're doing what he does.
Jesus.
It's like the same fucking concept.
Oh, apparently, what was I gonna say? I said something. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Run a blank.
Dealing drugs.
Dealing drugs. Yeah, it's just it's funny too because drug dealer simulator got like review bombed really bad, and like people made their voices heard. It was great.
Well, I mean, I think the point of contingency was that is Jesus Christ, am I having a stroke? The point of contingency with that is um Schedule 1 is doing far better than Drug Dealer Simulator ever did. So I think they're just mad. Like your game did better than ours, so we're going to sue you for like a lightly better concept. But it's the same fucking thing we saw with Nintendo and Pal World.
Yeah, well, Nintendo is going about it with the whole copyright thing. They're silly copywriting game mechanics. Did you see the latest one? The
I
latest
don't
one that
believe
was
so.
released in March. So
Well, the
they
last one
patented.
I saw, the last I kept up with it was they like they made like a fucking uh patent for like some random game mechanic, and after the patent came out, they went and like retroactively tried to get on Pal World about it.
Yeah. So latest one is uh smooth transitioning between travel states from air to ground. So like if you have a system where you're flying and you can smoothly transition into running, that's what they patented.
Dude, they did that in fucking Far Cry 3. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, the Nintendo owns a patent to do that now. It's way more descriptive than that, but
Imagine they just go back and like fucking sue Ubisoft for that
uh,
game they made 15 years ago and it's the final nail in Ubisoft's coffin. They finally declare bankruptcy. Oh, that was another thing. Didn't Ubisoft actually just sell a huge portion of their company?
oh yeah, did Tencent or no? Tencent bought a giant stake in their company. I don't quite think that's the same. Well, okay,
But
it's kind of the same.
Tencent was one of the big. Oh, okay, I mean Ubisoft is fucking like the grave is dug. We're lowering Ubisoft into the ground. Like,
So
but
Ubisoft
what is it?
got life
Tencent and
support.
who's the other one? There's Tencent and there's another one.
Uh,
The fucking
not
family one, or whatever
NC.
it's called.
Uh, uh,
It's dead ass just something family. I'm just gonna look up fucking Ubisoft buyers because at this point it's relevant.
Family. I don't know about the family one. I know there's NetEase. NetEase is the other big one. You might know something I don't know. No, they.
I'm seeing Tencent immediately because they're the ones that have actually jumped on it. There's one that was like it was like something family. I thought.
Hmm. Could be a new one trying to buy them. Because they're really vulnerable right
No,
now.
this was like in the initial reports when like Ubisoft Gilmont family. Oh wait, it's okay, yeah. Ubisoft is run by Gilmont family, who owns 15% of it,
And they want to
followed
buy.
by
They want to buy
Tencent,
more.
which owns coincidentally 10% of it.
Well, they own more now.
10 Tencent owns Tencent.
Oh my god, I hate it here. Uh, well, like I said, they got a bailout from Tencent. Tencent bought 25% stake in Ubisoft.
So they now own more than Gilmont family.
Yeah, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
I think they're both Chinese, believe.
Guillemot, I thought they were French, but I don't know. Ubisoft is French.
Well, I know Tencent
Yves,
is Chinese. Well,
Yves
Ubisoft
Guillemot
is.
is French.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
His brothers
I
are
mean, it's
Claude,
Canadian. Like,
Michael, Gerard, and Christian. And if that is
oh
a
yeah,
French family lineup.
oh yeah, those dudes aren't Chinese.
Yves Marie Remy Guillemot.
It's dead ass just the Gilmont family. It's not even like you can't even hide that.
Jesus. Oh, they founded
Okay.
Ubisoft in 1986. 86. Ubisoft has been around since 1986.
God, my Ubisoft is older than you and me.
Jesus.
What was their first? What was their? What? I mean, they started in the video game industry, right? What was their first game? It's always so funny when you look at like
I thought they
companies like old
collaborated.
games. Like one of Bethesda's first games was fucking like a hockey game and like a
Uh,
random like Terminator game.
I had thought. Let's see, I thought they had originally collaborated with other studios.
That's probably.
Their first game was called Zombie. It was released in '86.
You mean they worked on the Zombie?
It was released for the
That game that I
Amstrad
play every day?
CPC. Ubisoft's first publication, released in 1986.
And now their last publication is Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah. You know
Hit
what?
us with a
You
bang.
know what's funny is like Shadows was like they really needed Shadows to pop off,
And
like
it didn't.
really hard. So Shadows was a good game and it sold well. However, it didn't quite pop
To
off
be
as much as they
fair,
needed to.
your standards are low.
My standards are low. No, this is not my opinion. This is other people's opinions. Um, Shadows sold well. It did well. People who played it, I've heard love it. Right? There's a lot of concepts they like. There's, you know,
The
you can.
Japanese government doesn't love it.
Oh my god, that's a whole nother. We'll get to that. Um, you know they like the weather system. The combat is still it's an Assassin's Creed game. You only assassinate someone so many times, right? Like you're gonna have that. But
that's
I've heard a
that's
lot
one
of
big
people.
thing. Okay, I was fucking obsessed with Assassin's Creed as a teenager. Like obsessed. It
Mhm.
was the game that I played the most. I played every single game. I fucking loved it. Every night I would say to myself, Ezio is love, Ezio is life, and all that. But like, ever since Origins, I just kind of fell off. I'm like, I'm looking at the shit now, and it's like even basic shit that was like in Assassin's Creed just like isn't there. Like fucking, I saw that you can't assassinate someone in one hit anymore. Like as long as you like snuck up on someone, you could just straight up fucking assassinate them.
They added
But
that for
Assassin's
tougher
Creed
enemies.
Shadow doesn't even have that.
They added that for tougher enemies now. It's
Like
like
I
gatekeep.
understand changing the game to like make it fresh, whatever, but it's like I don't know. It feels like such a juxtaposition to Mirage, which, like, by God, I forget Mirage is even a fucking game half the time.
Yeah.
When I think of the last game before Shadows, I think of fucking Valhalla. Mirage is even a thought in my head, and I wrote a whole fucking article about Mirage one time. But it just feels so weird that, like, Mirage, their big thing was like bringing Assassin's Creed back to the roots, and that's like this. It's like, yeah, whatever, we ball.
Yeah.
But I don't know. From what you've seen, is it enough to save Ubisoft?
So no, and that's the thing is like I said, Assassin's Creed Shadows did well, but it did not do well enough. I heard someone say they needed to sell like 15 million copies or something like that to dig the hole out of from like all the other games that they released that were bad. But it just, like I said, it didn't do enough. It was it was released with generally it was generally positive, but like it just wasn't enough. I don't know, and I think part of that is Assassin's Creed. It has a big audience, but it doesn't have like it's not gonna have the audience like a Call of Duty game would have, right? Like, or
And it doesn't have the audience that it used to.
yeah, that's true. That's very true. Um, so that's why I think they were barely treading water, and then Tencent was like, "We'll help you out. You just got to sell your soul a little bit." But no, one thing I got, and this is okay.
I think it's also when you think of Ubisoft, what do you think of? You think of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think of Tom Clancy and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
and I haven't thought of Tom Clancy for a long time.
Exactly. So it's like they're riding on Assassin's Creed, which is at this point a fucking dead frame. So let me wind your clock back a year. Remember when we talked about how BAFTA released that shitty list of iconic video game characters?
Mm-hmm.
And we were going over like characters who should have been on there, like fucking like Leon from Resident Evil, and all these different characters that weren't fucking Spyro.
Yeah.
You know who we didn't mention that I realized when we were editing? We didn't mention Ezio, who is a fucking huge staple of video games.
Yeah.
But we just don't think of him because Assassin's Creed hasn't been relevant in so fucking long. And like I said, I used to be fucking upset. Still, even to this day, I have a fucking Assassin's Creed 3 poster in my room, but like Assassin's Creed is just such a passing thought to me because it's not fucking relevant anymore, and the games are just ass.
And they're so all over the place. Like, it feels like the games for that still are totally different games.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like they really lost.
Like you compare the first one to like Valhalla, they're just different games.
Yeah, they don't even fucking. Literally, if you took the title away and you played fucking, I'd go as far as to say like even like Revelations or 3. If you played that and then played Valhalla, take away the title, you don't even know they're the same fucking game.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of like the times I assassinated people in Valhalla, and I'm like hardly ever. I fucking cut them in half with an axe.
Yeah.
Like. I get my boat out and I go raiding and I fucking cut them in half. And I mean, I guess there's a little bit of a stealth aspect to it, but like, no, it's not the biggest thing.
Well, fucking Ivor, or whatever his name wasn't even an assassin, right?
Yeah, he was.
We'll juxtapose that to Edward's story, where Edward's whole thing was for like 75% of the game, you're not an assassin, you're a fucking pirate.
Yeah.
And you're just like going around killing people, but that was like part of Edward's whole redemption arc is, he lost all of his friends and then ultimately became a better person and eventually joined the assassins. But I mean, I never fucking.
That game was also it was a refresh. It was a setting a lot of people wanted. Like,
it
was.
I mean, that's kind of the same with Valhalla, but wasn't the whole thing with Valhalla like, who's the protagonist of Mirage.
Oh,
It's like
Basim,
Bess.
Basim.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Basim or something like that. Like, didn't he ask Ivor or whatever his name is to join the Assassins? He's like, huh, no.
Yeah,
No thanks, bro.
no, we're good.
So it's like, you know. So I think they lost sight long ago of like what Assassin's Creed was. And I think Mirage was where they were like, let's bring it back to the roots. And they fucking didn't. They tried and they failed.
Yeah,
I think they thought that a Middle Eastern setting was enough to bring it back to its roots, and it wasn't.
I agree. I think 100%.
Also, that was the same time as that like every company was taking their DLC and instead making it into a whole ass game.
Yeah.
Because that was the same year that Modern Warfare 3, which was originally DLC, came out too. So,
That's a whole nother fucking thing. Yeah.
but so yeah, like
No. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was a good game. It wasn't trash. It was a lot of people liked it. A lot of people enjoyed playing it, and I looked at it
but
and I'm
so do
like, it
you
has the same pitfalls as regular Assassin's Creed games. Like, I
yeah,
don't
and
know
the
if I
fucking
would
Japanese
finish it.
isn't the Japanese government actually straight up suing them because you're like destroying historical shrines and shit?
So no, so
I know there's like a whole
the
legal thing, but I thought I heard they were actually straight up suing them, but
the
maybe not.
original the original thing with that stuff was, so there's a lot of small stuff that went back and forth, but some big things that were on that was they released like a figure, right? Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft released like a figure with a broken Torii gate in the background, and Torii gates are shrine gates are sacred in Japan's culture. The thing you got to remember about Japan, right? At their base level, Japan doesn't separate church and state like we do. Japan's religion and Japan's culture is tied back. It's very much intertwined. It goes back centuries, right? Like I can't speak to it very well because I don't know it a lot, but it's very
Have you ever
intertwined.
seen the TikTok
Um,
where there's this guy, I think he was American, going around showing people a swastika, and he's like, "What does that mean?" And all the Japanese people are like, "Oh, that's the symbol for like a temple."
yeah, because and here's the thing
So
too.
like they don't even know what fucking like well they know what swastika is, but they know it in the traditional sense, not because of fucking Nazi Germany.
Yeah, so a swastika is actually just a certain Aryan rune.
Yeah,
Is all it really is. But it also became the symbol of Nazi Germany.
it's
Um,
like the same thing how we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance, the Pledge of Allegiance doing the Nazi salute,
yeah,
but then like the Nazis
it
like
became the
basically
Nazi
ruined it
salute.
for
Yeah.
yeah, they ruined it for everyone but Elon Musk.
So swastika is Sanskrit. The word swastika is
It's
Sanskrit. It's from Hinduism. It means conducive to well-being. Is what it is where it came from.
I was gonna say I think it means something about like prosperity.
Yeah. Um, but no, a big thing with that was like they had the damaged Torii Gate, um, which was an affront to their culture, and okay, this
Well,
is where I'm gonna get a
Yasuke
little.
himself in the game, I believe, doesn't he actually like he himself like destroys
So
the
that we're
the
gonna get
shrines
there.
and
We're
all
gonna
that.
get there. Um, Originally, certain things were destructible. Like the whole environment was originally destructible, destroyable, whatever. So they didn't like that because theoretically a person could go into the video game, and destroy like a shrine or someone's house or a temple or something like that, and it was seen as an affront. And there was also the discussion that like if someone did that in game, they did want to do it in real life. Which
Yeah,
okay,
I
come
saw
get your
I saw
fucking head out of
that.
the '90s. But This it's 2025. We're no longer in fucking dark ages. But um, that was the big deal. So that's why that big change where they made it so that certain things weren't destroyable, like things in houses and stuff. Like you couldn't go into a house and like destroy all their stuff. Um, that was where that big change came from. Now my thing about it is, uh, out of all the Assassin's Creed games that had things like that, only Japan had an issue, which is cute, and that's my tone deaf. That's my tone deaf statement for that. I'm like, it's a video game. Like you had no
Well,
issue when animes do this, right? Like,
well, I mean, look at the. I mean, Christ, I've mentioned World at War already 10 times, but I mean, World at War was initially banned in Japan because it had acts of violence against Japanese people. Because
yeah,
you were a fucking Marine going into Japan and killing all the imperialists.
it, it's it's
So and
it's
that
it,
that 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 like whole thing was quickly redacted because it's like, brother, come on, it's World War Two.
Japan has always been kind of that way though about like anything considered slanderous to them is like they'll
Yeah,
get cattywampus about. Which like I said, I find cute.
which isn't that different than like most other countries. I mean, how much do we know about what the U.S. really did in Vietnam?
That's true.
That's like the same thing. Like Japanese people don't know what fucking happened, what they did during World War II. Like I said, they don't even know what the fucking swastika is. They don't know what the Nazis did during World War II.
So
That they were allies with. So it's like all that kind of stuff.
you're right, but the difference
It's
is, I'm sorry.
well, I'm just saying. I don't think it's that different, but like I see the point that you're coming from.
You're right, but here's the difference. If someone made a movie right now, some big time director made a movie right now about American
Oh,
atrocities in Vietnam,
in
it would
Vietnam,
be
yeah, it would be like,
amazing, and it'd be a hero, and it'd win an Oscar. If someone did that in
but there
Japan,
was
they'd be chastised by the government and probably kidnapped. Right? Like
well,
that's the
so I
difference.
like not to get on too dark of a subject because this is really dark. Um, during the I think this was technically part of the Indochina Wars. There was the rape of Nanking.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this huge like I won't go into the details because like I said it's dark as fuck, but it was this huge atrocity that happened uh where the Japanese imperialists invaded China, and some Japanese citizen wrote a book on it, and she literally got so ostracized by the Japanese people that she eventually just straight up committed suicide over it
Yeah.
because like they thought like she was lying and that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, there is a cultural difference. It's not, but
I mean, you know what though? You know what though? I don't want to say it. I don't want
I
to get
mean
too
if
political.
they I mean if they made a fucking game where you blow up the White House, like it's whatever, but then they make a if you make a game about destroying Japanese shrines, then so
I mean,
it is a
they did make
cultural
Modern
thing.
Warfare 3 where DC was in flames.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually what I was
And
thinking
that
of
game
when I
was
said
great. We
that.
loved
Like,
it. Everybody loved it.
yeah, then fucking no Russian, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is definitely a cultural difference, but
It just kind of got me like I understand. I absolutely understand why you'd be upset, but as a person, I just like I if I feel like it got to them. It's like when someone makes fun of you and you let it get to you. It feels like it's
yeah,
are they really besmirching your culture, and who are they? You know, they let a small, I mean arguably small, but they let a French game studio win by living rent free in their head. Like all this stuff happened not against a foreign entity, not against some big time company, against Ubisoft.
Well, to be fair,
Like,
Ubisoft lives rent free in all of our heads.
that's just fair,
But yeah,
right? Like,
I don't know.
it's like,
I try to be respectful of that though. Like I understand that's like a big cultural thing. It's like, just it's the difference in how they were brought up and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I understand what they're saying. I guess is where I come from. But
I do I get it. I get being upset. I get the cultural impact of it. I just feel like
all right,
it's
Benny. Let me bring this into the real world for you.
huh.
Would you be appreciative of an Assassin's Creed game if they came in and destroyed a Kansas cornfield? I can
I
see
mean,
you in the fetal position right now crying about it.
here's I don't here's the thing is like it wouldn't I would be upset, but like at the same time I can't I can't like I'm like, all right, well this was their view. This is what they wanted to do. I can't take it that
But I guess
seriously.
it's a I okay,
It's like if
I
someone
understand the argument of like them saying like people are gonna go and do that in their real life. Yeah, it's not gonna fucking happen. But I guess I do understand the importance of it being a cultural significance thing of like, okay, like this is the like because for them it's not only a cultural thing, it's also like a religious thing.
yeah, that's true.
Like think of how many like religious people like if they went and like blew up a fucking church and like the cross and all that, like the Christians would be up in arms. And I mean, maybe rightfully so, because you're kind of defiling that part of their lives and that culture or whatever. So that's the lens I'm looking at it, I guess, and how I see,
Mm,
especially in a game that centers around that. Like
yeah.
you're in Japan, like going in and destroying like Japanese shrines and shit. I guess that's kind of the lens that I try to see it in.
Have you seen the Yase Simulator game
No, no, but I heard about it.
where you
Uh,
go in and destroy
where you,
Japanese things to advance?
yeah, where you play like fucking biblically accurate Yasuke,
Yeah,
basically.
you pick up
Yeah.
guns. Uh, Oda Nobunaga is like
Yeah.
this big figure. He has a bullet train that you ride through Japan.
It, yeah.
You got bicycles, you got car. Yeah, and you know what? That exists. No one said anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Where's
yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about
Where's
that
Yase
too.
Simulator's
So
lawsuit? It's by the developer's name is Historically Accurate Developers. That is the studio that made that game.
historically accurate, and yet they have fucking Yasuke come in with a goddamn MG42 to destroy
Well, you
Japanese
get a
shrines.
pistol, you get an SMG, you get a shotgun, you get a Barrett, and those are the guns you get.
Yeah. So
And then you can drive in a car, and
oh my god.
you ride a bicycle.
They've put Ubisoft out of business. There's no more Assassin's Creed. All we need is this historically accurate game.
Yeah. So
So
so what I was going to talk about, I was going to mention it when we were talking about Nintendo. Did you see? So you know the streamer Usada Picora, right? The bunny.
uh
She's blue
wait, did you say
hair.
the bunny?
She's blue hair. She's a bunny.
Is she the VTuber?
Yeah.
I think
So I didn't.
she's like really popped off recently, right?
No, you're thinking of a different bunny. She's a.
Jesus Christ, how many bunnies are there?
There's a lot. She's a Hololive streamer. She's an old Hololive streamer. But so she did stream a while back where she So a certain number of Pokemon Emerald games were given out at an event. I don't know the event. I gotta look it up. But they had an item in there. So something map. I can't remember. Suspicious map or something. And it would allow you to go to a place and catch a Mew. So the holy grail of Pokemon Emerald cartridges are cartridges that have this item in a save that hasn't been used. So what she did was she bought a whole bunch of Emerald cartridges and played them on stream to see if they all had them. And after
Is it kind of like the whole thing with like those people who have like Fortnite accounts that have like certain emotes that they lost the license to and will never come back, so they like sell their
yeah,
account?
yeah, kind of. So the item is called the Old
Wait,
Sea
so
Map.
why is it only certain
They were only given out
what
during
is
a couple events, like these
was it
cartridges.
live service or like they actually just sold those
They
cartridges
were no,
straight
they were
up at a
given out
specific
at
time?
events. This is in '05. They were given out at certain events. This is
Oh,
Emerald. This is an
okay.
old game.
Okay.
Um, and they were only given out in Japan. They were given out as a gift for purchasing a ticket to the movie Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. Um, so she tried all these game cartridges, right? And I think she got to like number 20 something, 21, 22, and she found one with it had it on it, but then there were some issues with the game, right? Like so there's some irregular. I said there's some irregularities in the game, the way it played, and a bunch of the people in her stream were like, "Hey, I think that might be a hacked game cartridge," and she's like talking about it for a little bit, and then she ends up
Oh,
stopping it,
I think I see
saying,
where you're going with this.
"Well, she ended up stopping it, saying that if it's hacked, I'm not gonna continue. We're gonna stop here, all this stuff." But then Nintendo went back and got her video delisted because she played a hacked
Yep.
Nintendo cartridge on
Yep.
stream. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I saw that
what,
coming.
what, what? God, I'm like, she
Well, I was
didn't
like,
hack it, and she realized it. She's like, oh, I'm gonna stop because this is hacked.
dude,
Like,
it's fucking Nintendo. They don't care. It's the same thing with like Black Myth Wukong. Remember the EULA that all that
yeah,
it went through. So it's like God God forbid you say women are equal while playing Black Myth Wukong. You'll be fucking sent to the gulag. So yeah, yeah,
yeah. It was just like I'm like it seemed like a nuclear response to something,
yeah.
like,
But I mean, it's Nintendo.
well, it
What do
just
you
adds to their
expect?
hate.
I don't even think it's the fact that Nintendo is a fucking Japanese company, though. I think it's just that Nintendo sucks.
What are they? They're so strange though. Like, what are you losing out on?
I
It's
mean, we've
like,
said 1,000 times that if you fucking, you know, even say Mario without them giving you permission to, they'll fucking drive up in their white unmarked van and run out with their
yeah,
fucking plungers and beat you to death.
yeah. Uh, I mean, there's so many things that are just strange though. Like, I was thinking the other day they shut down all these emulator sites, right? If they released an emulator and charge you $1 for it, and it worked all the time and it never had issues and it was supported, they'd make millions.
Yeah, but they're
Like,
not gonna do that. They're going to fucking uh charge you $20 for the game that you played back in
that's true.
98. Like,
Or charge you $90 for a game that's 8 years old.
yeah, so
You saw that
it's
for
more
Tears
that
of the
kind of thing.
Kingdom, right?
Well, that's another thing that I was thinking of when we were talking about fucking Nintendo is like, if I bought a Rogue Ally right now, I could fucking emulate any game I want to on it.
Yep.
Last week I was playing freaking Resident Evil 2, like the original one from 98 on my phone. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I've had Game Boy simulators on my phone before. They're nice.
yeah, and they just shut down a few months ago. Nintendo finally won the battle against, finally in the bad way, against Dolphin Emulator.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, they like officially shut down Dolphin. It's like that South Park episode where all the Japanese guys are like, "Fuck you, Dolphin."
Dolphin was good.
Dolphin fucking. I actually wanted to go through Dolphin and like I've always had PlayStation, so I've never really like Nintendo was like a big part of the gaming landscape that I missed out on, and I was actually gonna like get Dolphin and like play all these games that I'd never played before, but then they shut it down. It's like, well, oh well. The thing that gets me to, I think we talked about this before, like well, we talked about the aspect of like emulation, the fact that they're not making money off these games anymore.
Mm.
But the fact that gets me too, that I don't think we ever fully addressed, is the availability too. Is it's like I have no outlet to buy these games even, so it's like if it's that, it's like you're going to turn to it's like the great Gaben said, piracy is like mostly a service problem.
Mm.
So it's like if you don't have an outlet to buy the games reasonably, then you're going to turn to piracy. And I remember there was a big issue when uh before Nintendo released their legacy stores, like these games weren't available to buy in an official capacity, but they were like pissed that people were buying them anyways.
I know. I just can't. It just I don't know. It just I don't understand where they come from. Like I understand why. Like if they're upset that like they're like, well, I'm not making money, so no one can make money, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
But that's the thing too, is it's like these people aren't making money. They're just
distributing.
giving you the fucking ROMs.
Yeah.
They're not making money off of it. Nobody's making money off of it, but if Nintendo isn't making money off of it, then you just can't have fun.
Yep.
It's the same thing when they made Gmod take off all their shit. Like no one was making money off of that. They're just having fun being able to play as fucking, you know, Mario, being able to beat the shit out of Mike Tyson, but you can't do that without Nintendo making money off of it, so
Yeah. It just I don't know. It just baffles me. Like why is it a big deal? Why is it even a thing?
when it really has no reason to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here, hold on 1 sec and then we'll move on to our next topic. All right, I'm back.
I'm back.
All right, so you got any big topics for us, Benny?
Some stuff to look out for. Some other stuff. Oh, one thing that I thought was really cool that I saw in I saw was a Kotaku article. The Oscars are getting a new category. Uh, it is
In an
for
attempt to
stunt.
make them relevant again?
It's for stunt performers and coordinators, kind of the unsung heroes of the film industry.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought of that. Like, they never really get any recognition. I was also thinking of that on, like, in a category more in, like, our ballpark of, like, something I've always kind of thought about is, like, the editors of, like, YouTube
Mm-hmm.
videos and stuff that you, like, never really hear about. Like, when you look at any big YouTuber, like, it's not just them. Like, they have a whole ass team with them
Oh yeah, 100%.
that you usually don't think about.
The support staff doesn't get recognized usually ever,
Yeah.
especially with VTubers. Like with movies and stuff, you got credits, right? But like with VTubers, it's a whole different thing.
Well, that's something that I've kind of noticed with the moist boy himself,
The moistureness.
Penguin Zero, big old Charlie.
Oh,
Like
Charlie.
always like has those like videos where he's like the tier list of his friend, and like he always like includes his editors doing random shit in the background and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's something you usually don't like think about when you watch like any video ever is like any channel that has like over 500k subscribers or whatever, they have editors that do all that shit. But
Yeah.
I mean, the Oscars is a little late doing that because has anyone really cared about anything that's gone on at the Oscars since Will Smith and Chris Rock?
I mean, they have an audience. It's yeah.
A fucking audience of like what 80-year-olds like the the
Yeah.
Academy doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah.
Have you heard the conspiracy that the whole Will Smith and Chris Rock thing was staged
I can believe it.
just to get people to care about the Oscars?
I can believe it 100%.
Like
Because it
I think
seemed
when you get in the weeds of it, it probably wasn't, but like
it seemed too crazy at the Oscars to have. Like it was too much.
yeah.
Like, come on, man. That doesn't happen in fucking real life. Like, I just it's and then
I personally don't subscribe to the conspiracy theory, but like I can see like why they would because no one fucking cares about the Oscars.
yeah.
I remember it used to be like a big thing where it's like everyone got together, they fucking made like appetizers and shit and got together and watch it, but like dude, that hasn't happened in fucking 15 years and that's being generous with it.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
Any other big things coming
Um
to you?
just something to be mindful of, right? Like I know a lot of people I'm not gonna talk about politics straight up. I don't want to. I don't but um my general awareness thing is everyone should be mindful of what's going on, right? Like wherever you get your sources from. There's something I've noticed in some of my friends that like have might have jaded views on something or aren't up to date on things like keep your finger on the pulse of the world a little bit, right? Like the big I mean a lot of big ticket things don't really affect us little guys that in our day to day, right? But you got this whole thing with the tariffs going on, everything with China, like it affects us. It affects us all, and it pays to pay attention to things because prices are going to fluctuate. Things are going to go up. Things are going to go down. Um, The world's gonna change a little bit. So get out there and stay ahead of it, and at least have an idea of what goes on. You know. I know one thing is I saw an article. I think a Verge article. Um, the EU's trying to move away from Starlink because of what's going on. Kind of a can't depend on the US kind of thing, right? Like, these are things that will affect us all, especially you, Connor. You use Starlink. Um,
Well, okay. I just switched to Starlink. To be fair,
uh, I
also
don't.
to be fair, I have nothing else available in the area.
That's
You know
fine.
how my internet was
Yeah,
before.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Anything can happen in
Starlink
the
is the
U.S.
only thing I have that I can rely on.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna change. It's gonna really affect too much in the long run. But it's you gotta make sure you keep up with current events like this, right? Like
Yeah,
that's my kind of soapbox for awareness is
it's
you know
your weekly PSA.
even if it's stuff you don't want to hear, it pays to know these things. It pays to have an idea of these things. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
care about Trump and his trade war realistically, but in the grand scheme of things, it pays to know what's happening in my country where I have to be a consumer and I have to have a retirement account. I have to have this, that. I may buy a car. You know, my car's paid off. I may buy another one. I want to buy another motorcycle, right? So it pays to at least have an idea of what some of these things that are going on are, even if you don't care about following it. That's my thing. I feel like not a lot. I feel like a lot of people hear bad news and just turn a blind eye to it. But it's stuff you gotta pay attention to. You gotta know.
I think it's just because like people are freaking tired of bad news.
It's true. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to hear all this stuff. But
Like Jesus Christ, we're hitting all the dark topics today. But
uh,
like, anytime like you hear like, oh, another school shooting, it's like,
yeah,
like
it's kind of
I don't want to be depressed. I'm just think I pay attention to it.
yeah, and that's easy to do
So
that. It's hard to it's hard to look at this stuff and hard to think about it. But I think we have to. It's too many people are losing sight of these big items,
all
and
right,
it's you may think people may think, oh, well, I don't invest in the stock market, it isn't going to affect me, and I'm like, well, when the price of everything goes up, when your 401k goes down, when like all these things will affect you eventually, right? Like there's not much you can do about it, but it pays to know about it. I'm not saying go out there and research all this stuff, but at least understand what might be going on. That's it. That's
yeah,
everything. I like I said, I see it a lot, especially in a lot of younger guys and girls who are like, just trying to make it right. They're all getting out of college, trying to get a job, doing this, doing that, trying to buy a car, and it's easy to live in your own little world, and you got your own problems, but these things kind of exasperate, make those problems a little bit bigger.
yeah.
And the ultimate thing we got to remember, we can blame all the boomers.
And the
Anything.
Nazis,
And the Nazis, especially the Nazis.
the fucking Nazis. Oh boy,
Even the Germans blame the Nazis.
Nazis.
They don't like to talk about it. It's hard to get a German person to talk about history. You try it. So we played a little Navy story. We played host ship to the German frigate Brandenburg, and they were some of the coolest guys. The Germans were some of the coolest guys we ever met. I mean, they're super proud, they're super patriotic, right? But like, it's strange because there's another time when they were super proud and super patriotic in a bad way. So it's like a duality of their nation, kind of.
Yeah,
It's interesting, and they have a different take on it, right? Like they didn't. I mean, they talked about it. They talked about their past, right? Like Japan goes to like censor all this stuff. The German sailors were, like I asked them, like, how does it? how do people treat you? And they're like, well, people don't forget things. It's
How
bad
does it feel
sometimes.
being Nazis?
Yeah, and they were cool about it. They talked about it. They were very upfront, and things happen in the past. I mean, we're not Americans are no angels. I mean, look at our past.
Well, also to compare Germany now to Germany in the 1940s is like
Yeah,
nothing
nothing's
the
the
same.
same. Yeah, they're a lot different.
Yeah.
It was just interesting to see it from you see a lot of things from the American point of view or from a
Back in the Navy.
historian's point of view. It was interesting to talk to a person from that nation and get their real point of view.
But
I guess I just people need to get out there and learn stuff and pay attention to stuff and see what's going on in the world, right? Like the world is ours to inherit from all the old people in a lot of ways, and I gotta know what's going on. But
well, either way, that's it for me, Ben. You got anything else
no,
really pressing?
no, the big thing was Nintendo. That was my big ticket item too.
Yeah, so
It's just
all right, well,
the audacity.
yeah, well, it's certainly not the first time we talked about Nintendo. I think it's going to be far from the last.
100%. I will say
So,
hopefully next time I'll have my desktop microphone. I'll be wearing this goofy headset. But
well, either way, that's it for me, Bane. That's it for you. I think we can wrap there.
hmm I agree.
Give us some final words of inspiration.
Um, it'll get better. Things are bleak. You get older, you learn more stuff. You learn how to deal with it. It gets better. Don't don't think all this politics stuff that's going on right now, all this stuff in the world. Don't think it's ever gonna be this way forever and be
Also,
the end.
Metal Gear Delta is the only thing that your life is worth anything for anymore. Remember to
Ooh,
buy Metal Gear Delta.
absolutely.
Forgive me for all the things I've said to Kojima.
He remembers.
All right.
Kojima never
Well,
forgets.
anyways, that's it. If you got nothing else, say bye, Benny.
We'll see you guys later.
That's it. Remember to check us out fucking anywhere you consume podcasts because we're probably there. We're on shit
Yeah.
that I've never even heard of, but I upload there. So, anyways, that's it. Until next time.
Until next time.
Hoorah.
There's some read. Let's see that.